Hello guys. So in this video, we are going to be discussing how to save our weapon system. So in the previous video, we established a two weapon system where you can have um, with scriptable objects where you can store your guns variables in your weapon slot. And in this video, we're going to be talking about how you can save that weapon system and save it so that you can be able to close the game and reopen it and still have the same weapons you had before. Now, if you just want to create like a multiplayer single time use weapon system, then like you can just skip the video. But for people who want to create like an RPG, an RPG based on sci-fi or like guns, then like this will be the right video for you. And if we get to it, we will also be including a weapons wheel at the very end. So stay tuned for that. So, uh, with that said, let's get started. So, the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to go into our gun manager script. So let's just double tap on that, and we're going to want to be able to store a certain variable for the currently equipped guns. So there's a very handy function called void on application quit, and this just runs whenever the game closes. And I use this a lot in Android games or Android development, but it also works for desktop development as well. So if we go back to Unity, you can see that in our FPS controller, we actually have let it load. In our FPS controller, we actually have an array storing every single gun. And I'm actually just going to create another gun. Let's see what other guns we have in this pack. Yeah, let's create a M4A. I actually don't know what this is, but this is making M4A. Okay, and this will be the pickup item. Pick up, unpack the prefab. And let's just go back into the prefabs and just drag this in. Okay. And let's also just duplicate this so we can have pickup 2. Okay. Now, we're going to need to drag in everything that makes this a pickup item. So we're going to have to change the tag to gun. Obviously, actually, let's delete this and duplicate it later. Actually, no, let's just only have one. So we need, obviously, drop gun item. So actually, let's create a new scriptable object first. So scriptable object, gun manager, M4A. The prefab will be we're gonna have to duplicate this and rename this to M4 or drag this into the scene, delete this, unpack prefab, and then drag this into the player and then position it how we want. So I'm just gonna do that real quick. Alright, so now that I have positioned this how I want, I am going to go to the scriptable object, lock this in, and I'm going to select the prefab as well as the pickup prefab. And we're just going to make the name M4A. Okay, so now we've set up the scriptable object. What we're going to do is we're going to go into over here and we're going to create the script pickup object for the M4A. So let's just go into assets, drop gun item. Gun item will be M4A. I don't know why it's M4 dash. I might have made a mistake when naming it, but whatever. What else do we need? We need a rigid body, obviously, and box collider. So let's just add those real quick. So rigid body and box collider. Now, when we go in, we can inspect. Box collider seems about the right size, so we can just drag this back in. Okay, so now we have a pickup object. We can go back into Unity, and we can go into our array that stores all the possible guns that can be equipped. We can just drag this in. And gun transforms can be over here. So this will be the gun transform. Okay, so now we can actually just test this out first, and we can just see if we can actually pick up the M48. So M48, pick up. Okay, so now we have an M48. Cool. That is very, very cool. Now we have two AKs. Why does this not drop? This is really weird. And also it doesn't destroy itself. Why does this happen? Okay, so there's obviously something wrong with the M48 script. Oh, we did not apply the prefab value, so that is why. So now we go pick it up. Yeah, and we drop the M48. It's so hard to pick. I'm gonna have to make the collider bigger after this. But yeah, okay, everything should work now. Okay, cool. Yeah, so now we have the added create a new gun. You can add like 50 guns if you want, but I'm only gonna add 3 for now. And we're just gonna go back to Visual Studios and we're gonna code the on application quit function. So we're actually gonna create a new function called load, or sorry, save, and another function called load. And I presume you guys already know what these are gonna be about. So these two will be the functions for loading and saving our data. So for save here, what we're going to want to do is we're going to be using something called player prefs. And basically how it works is that it just stores either an int or a float or a string to a Unity database. And you can call that database in game. But it's not as powerful as JSON, but we're just going to use this because it's simple. And so what we're going to do is we're going to get the array index for the current equipped gun and secondary gun in the guns array. So we're gonna do 2 for loops here. So for int I is equal to 0, I is less than guns.length. So we're just looping through the guns length array. And what we're gonna do is say if I guns I is equal to cur gun, then player refs dot set int per gun index, and it's going to be 1 or I, sorry. So basically what this says is that once we loop through the array of possible guns, if we find that current gun is equal to one of them, we're going to set the player pref current gun index to be the same index as the array. And we're just going to have another for loop. We can actually just copy paste this, except we're going to change I to J. So J, J. I don't actually have to do this, I think, but I just like to be certain that there's not going to be discrepancies in the variables. I will change this to secondary, and is equal to second gun. Alright, so now this is what happens on save, and then on load, so we're just going to call save function on application quit, so just very simple. And then on void start, we're actually just going to call load. So void start load. Yeah. Okay, cool. And then for load, all we're gonna do is we're just gonna say, so we can actually no. So we're just gonna say, cur gun is going to be equal to guns, and so we're referencing the array guns, and we're gonna look at the index of what we saved when we played. So it's gonna be player prefs dot set ints. Or not set, get in cur gun index. And then we can just copy paste this here into secondary, second gun index, second gun, and get in secondary gun index. Oh wait, cool. So we should actually technically already have finished our save system. Yeah, it's that easy. So now when you go into Unity, you can see, what is this? What is this? What is this? Oh, okay. Okay, I know what. Okay, so if the values are null, they default as 0. So player pref values default as 0. So what we can do is we can go back into Unity, and we can press edit and then clear all player prefs to have null values to the player prefs as well. Because when we left the game, we actually saved. So what we're gonna do is say if player prefs dot has key, or whoops, has key Kurgan index, then only then are we going to actually run this. Else we're just going to ignore the load function. So and if player prefs dot has key second, let's copy this, secondary gun index. Okay. So yeah, so Unity player prefs, if the value is null, the default is 0. For ints and floats at least. I don't know how it works with string. Yeah, okay, so now everything works fine when we load in. Now we're just gonna pick up this M48. Now we have an M48 and an AK, so we're just gonna leave the game, and when we go back, we should actually have an M48 and an AK. So we can actually just test this further, so we can drop the AK. Okay, now we have M1 as their second and M48 as their first. Leave the game and rejoin. And there we go. Okay, so our save system is now working. So this works for as many weapons as you have. Like, it's just like 10 lines of code, and you are now able to save your weapons. This works in game too, not just in the editor, so don't worry. But this doesn't save if the player prep does not save if your player deletes the files of your game. So if they install your game on itch.io or something and they delete it, and when they reinstall it, the variables will not be saved. So this is why you might want to use JSON if you're going to do advanced saving. But I'll make a video on that maybe later to show you guys more advanced saving. Okay, so now we finished our weapon saving. So we are very quick on time here, so we can actually just start making a weapons wheel for this episode. I was actually thinking that it would take much longer to get through this, so I was going to actually put the weapons wheel in the second episode, but I guess we can just do it now. So let's go into Canvas, and I'm going to go and install a package manager with a bunch of, Unity asset with a bunch of icons for our player script for us. No, sorry, icons for our guns. So we're just gonna go to Windows. If you're using 2021, you can't use Asset Store anymore, unfortunately. So you're gonna have to go to Package Manager and search for my assets. But if you're using like 2019 or 18, then you can go to Asset Store and direct install from there. But I'm just gonna go to Unity Registry, or sorry, My Assets, and gun icon. Oh, okay, FPS icon. Okay, there we go. Alright, so this is the pack. I'll link it in the descriptions below. I'm just going to download and import it. Import. Very quick import. It's a fairly good pack. It's also free, so you guys can get it free of charge. And I also want to change something in the UI. So I want to change this to actually say press E. So press E to, okay. So the player will know how to, they need to press E to actually pick up the gun. So we're going to go into FPS icon packs, and we're going to use dark gray because why not? Or orange. Let's use orange because I've never used orange before. So we're just going to create 2 raw images. So one here, and we're going to put it on the bottom right because that's usually where gun indicators are in games. And right here, duplicate this, and we're going to paste this as well. Okay, so we're going to have stand-in images, I guess. So we're just going to use like a knife because we don't have knives. They can't be raw images. They have to be images. My bad. Okay. There we go. Okay, so now we have 2 knife slots. What should be the default? Let's make the default sprite to be this. Oh my god, it looks so weird when it's stretched. Oh well, okay. Let's just make it this handgun that we're not going to have in the game. And let's also reduce the width because it looks really weird. Let's go into game to check it. Looks okay. You can decorate the UI if you want, but I'm just going to keep it at this. And I'm just going to, actually, I'm gonna actually just shrink the UI a bit more. Raise this and raise this, and I'm going to include texts to display the weapon names. So right here, down here, we will have the text for the weapon name once we select it, and center it and duplicate this, parent it under the other raw image, center it, and now we have a pretty decent looking weapons, weapons, not a weapon wheel, but like a weapon display. I'll make a weapon wheel. We'll make a weapon wheel tomorrow in the next video, where we will be looking at making the guns work and selecting different guns, with like a shop from Call of Duty. Okay, so now that we have the UI set up, we can go into the game to test it out. So if you're making a VR game, you can actually make the canvas coupled to the first character, so it's more dynamic and interactive. But we're gonna have a still canvas for our game this time. So let's go back into Unity, and in Gun Manager, So in Gun Item, we're actually gonna create a new variable called public sprite gun icon, and now we can go back into Unity. And go to guns, our guns folder to access the scriptable object. So for the AK, the sprite will be, let's find a good AK sprite. Let's say, I don't know what an AK looks like. This, sure. This will be the AK sprite. I honestly don't know anything about guns. This will be the M8. I'm assuming that looks like an M8, M4, or whatever. And the M1911 sprite will be here. Okay, so now we have a variable storing our icon. What we can do is we can go back into Unity, and we're going to, whenever we switch a weapon, we're also going to reset the sprites. So we're going to reference the two sprites and text. So we're going to say public image. We're actually going to have to reference or import the Unity engine UI library for this. So we're going to say public image cur web image and second web image, and the two texts. So do we use TextMesh Pro, or I can't remember. I'm going to assume we use TMP Pro. So we're going to import the TM Pro library as well. So using TM Pro, we're going to say public text mesh pro UGUI was cur web name second web name. Okay, so now we can go back into Unity, and we can actually so every time there's this block of code, we're gonna add a little bit to it. So we're just gonna say cur web image is going to be equal to cur gun dot image dot gun icon. Or sorry, we can't actually set the image to the sprite. We're gonna have to say image dot sprite is going to be equal to that, and we can duplicate this. So second web image is going to be equal to second gun dot gun icon, and then we duplicate this, and we will have to change for the text mesh pro. So we're going to say this dot text is going to be equal to second gun or cur gun. Whoops. Dot name. Is that what it is? Do we call it name? Yeah, we called it name. Okay. And then we can just duplicate this and say second web name dot text is going to be equal to second gun dot name. Okay, cool. Now we can just copy this and paste it here. Or not here, sorry. Every time we have this block of code, so just paste it all in. Very nice work. So now when we go back into Unity, we're going to have to first set the variables inside our script. So we're going to say current image is going to be here. Second web image. You should also name the objects in your scene. I'm not doing it for the sake of time, but you should probably do it to stay organized. So now we go back into Unity. We got M1911. Okay, well, we obviously made a mistake here. See, this is why I should name everything, so you don't get confused which one is which, because I obviously did. So, second text, second image, and first image, and first text. Alright, now when we go back to Unity, everything will work fine and dandy. Well, the image doesn't actually change because we did not. Well, we did. So why are they not changing? Okay, interesting. Okay. So why are they not changing? So I'm pretty sure I set the M48 to be OT automatic rifle, but they're not set to OT automatic rifle. It's very strange. Okay, well, I wonder if I give these two blank sprites, will they just be blank sprites? Yeah, they'll be blank sprites, but okay, well, it seems the first gun is set, but the second gun is not set. So second web item. Unless, I think I know what I might have done. I think I know what I... Okay, so I set both of the first image. Okay, so I set both of these variables to be the first image. See, this is why you name your stuff, so you don't get confused. Also, the first text and the second text are completely messed up. Okay. Oops. And boom. And now when we go back into Unity, everything should work fine and dandy. So M401, M1, everything works right. If we drop a weapon, we get a bug. Okay, we'll fix that later. Well, actually, we'll fix it now. Why is there a bug? Oh, wait, okay, so yeah, this is a pretty obvious bug. So we don't actually have a second weapon. So we're going to have to add some lines of code to check if there is. If there isn't, we're going to display no weapon. So and we're going to also set the sprite to be equal to null. So if cur gun is not equal to null, we're going to do this, else cur gun is equal to null. Or sorry, cur, whatever this is going to be equal to null. And over here, just going to copy this in, else it will be called no weapon. So basically this just checks if the cur gun variable has a value. If it doesn't, then we're just going to set the icon to nothing, and the text will be called no weapon. So next we're going to say if second gun is not equal to null, then we're going to do what we should be doing, else then we're going to do all of this cool stuff here and display it to be no weapon and null. Okay, so now we can just copy paste this and replace everything. Oh, it was a pretty expected bug, so I'm just surprised that happened. Paste it all in. Make sure you don't delete anything or replace anything that shouldn't be replaced or deleted. Go back into Unity. Now when we press play, everything should work fine. Okay, so M4, M1, I'm going to pick this up. Okay, so it only changes when I scroll. Why is this not picking up? Okay, so only changes when I scroll. So we also actually have to copy this function when we do pick up. So what happens here? Do we call a function in game object? Do we? Input this is physical manager the on new pickup. Okay, so on new pickup, there is no function saying that we have to switch the sprites, so that's why. So we're just gonna paste this code in. into the function, and now when we go back into Unity, when we pick up a weapon, our sprites will change as well. So pick up, now our sprites change as well. And for drop, no weapon, let's actually also just, because the white square looks ugly, so we're just going to set this to null. Set the thing to null. Or not null, we're going to set it to, set the whole thing .enabled is equal to false. And which means that over here, if it is true, we're going to actually have to set it to true. So basically what this does is that just sets the whole thing as disabled. If I go back into Unity and just copy paste this all, sorry, I'm just going to do this really quickly, so that you don't have that ugly white square in your screen whenever you drop a weapon, because nobody wants to look at that. Okay. 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 And should be the last paste. And we go back into Unity. Basically what it really does is that if we go to first image here, and we set image as disabled, like it's not going to be there anymore, so you won't see the ugly white square. Now when we go back into Unity, drop no weapon, but the sprite does not get set to null. What? Why does it not get set to null? Okay, I'm just gonna pick up an AK, drop into AK. Well, okay, well, if I set this as disabled, it should not be there anymore, so why is it still there? I'm confused. If not equals null, it's going to be enabled. Oh, it's only cur weapon. I am very, very smart, as you can see. This is why. Okay, so if second weapon's not equals null, so we never change this, and I can assume why I don't have to. I can assume that you don't know, or you will know without me explaining that why this does not work, because like you can't, like, second weapon has no correlation to current weapon. So if you drop, for example, if you drop first weapon, then technically second weapon's still active, so current weapon sprite will not change. Drop, no weapon, boom, easy. Oh wait, so I actually want to see how well our save system holds up when we have a null value. Not very well. Okay, not very well at all. So we actually have to save for account for when we only have one weapon equipped. So what we're gonna want to do is in save, we're gonna state another variable, and we're gonna say if guns I is equal to, or just gun, or if cur gun is equal to null, then we're going to set it to -1, and this will indicate, because -1 is not a possible index in an array, where this will write a function, we'll write a couple of lines of code in load to say detect that if it is less than 0, the value is less than 0. If the pulled value is less than 0, then we're just going to disregard our return value, and we're going to set the starting variable at 0 too. So we're just going to check here is, so if we should write this after we get the variable. So if, actually, so we're just going to copy here. So if we have a value called curgun index, and it is greater than -1, then we're going to do this. Else, we're going to set curgun is equal to null. And we can just copy paste this here. And this time, remember to change the variables, because last time it didn't really work out for us so well when we didn't. I don't know why I can't do this. I just copied that Oh my god, this is a nightmare. Okay, second gun. Okay, so now when we go back into Unity, our save and load system will hold up very well for when we only have one weapon. So we go back, drop a gun, leave, come back, and we have an error. Okay, I lied. It will not hold up very well.
Okay, so the solution to our problem, we can fix this by actually, the problem is that when we spawn, we're only checking for Kurgan. So if we say if Kurgan is equal to null, then that means that actually second gun must be true. It must not be null. So else, then we're going to do this. But using second gun prefab. So now when we go back into Unity, everything should work now. Clear the errors. Why is this instantiated gun? I don't know why this is. Why do we have this? We don't need this actually. I think. For that's only for like switching weapons or picking up weapons. Or I'm apparently wrong. Okay, so we do need these. I don't know why we needed them. Oh, to set the current gun object. So we can just put these in here, in each of the statements. Now when we go back into Unity, everything should work. I'll press play. Okay, well, apparently it doesn't all work. Or, oh, if it's not equal to null, sorry, my bad, my bad. That was the problem there. Okay, you should always read your errors and see what they say before you act. Oh wait, no weapon. Great. So now if I pick up an M1 and drop my second weapon, or whoops, AK, I have two AKs. I don't know which one I'm selecting, so this is bad. But if I drop my second weapon, what? Okay, drop that. Okay, I don't know why this is in my face. If I leave, you can just, it's a quick fix, you just change the positioning. If I leave and come back, yeah, okay, second web is not there. Alright, so thanks for watching this video, guys. I think I'll end it up there. We created a very nice UI scene, and we created some nice UI for our heads-up display, and we created a simple save system so you can go off your game and come back. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Remember to like and subscribe. Bye.